Yes, my people, greetings to you all. Yes, I greet everybody importantly. Yes, my name is Comrade Lante, and this is the Comrade Show. If you like, TCSblog. And the matter when I bring comment. Now the matter when it concern the tribunal, the presidential, petition when they court. We are expecting something on Friday as judgment of the Supreme Court on the disqualification of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and of course his running mate Shettima. This case has been in court actually, and this case is challenging if APC was right to have presented Shettima, who at the time of his presentation as running mate to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was running on two tickets in that he was a candidate for APC in his own constituency, for Senate, at the same time running mate to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and this is against the constitution of Nigeria. And so this case is coming up, and a lot of tension is building around this case and all of that. And people are saying, like, will this be another landmark judgment? Because in the eye of the public, the rules of engagement were definitely broken, by Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC and all of that. And so why this case is coming up, somebody gives some very incisive analysis into this matter. And when I listened, with comparison to what have happened in the past, in the most recent past, even with Bayelsa State, when this man, Lion, was elected governor, just a day to his swearing in, the Supreme Court nullified, his election and all of that. Should that be the case, at this point in time? We don't know what the judgment is going to be like, but for those who have argued, people have, argued that there have been instances in the past that, look very much like this, but with this be different. It's what we don't exactly know.
The greatest disappointment from the court today is the fact that the main hearing of the petitions will start on Tuesday next week, a day after the 29th of May 2023. Whatever the intentions of the judges to have a one-week break after the pre-hearings shows that they are not listening to the clamor of Nigerians. They might feel that their job is to deliver justice, not to listen to public outcry, but the judiciary is still an arm of government and therefore should serve in the interest of Nigerians. Many Nigerians want this petition finalized before the handover of power because of the non-fulfillment of the constitutional provisions by the announced winner. It might not be possible to round up the litigations surrounding the elections within 1 week, but what about the issue of 25% requirement in Abuja? They can do it quickly now before the date and set the record straight. Time is of essence. Since the Fourth Republic, no one has ever been sworn in without fulfilling this important constitutional requirement. Let's even imagine that in the minds of the judges that the answer is in the positive. It raises another question. Why wait? Why not deliver the judgment now to stop them from breaching the constitutional provisions? Let's also assume that INEC did it in error. Why shouldn't the judges correct them quickly to prevent the breach of the constitution? It's just like a police officer watching someone committing a crime and he's still watching the same person enjoying the proceeds of the crime. At what point should the policeman arrest someone committing a crime? When he's doing it or after he has finished enjoying the proceeds of the crime? At every stage since the presidential campaign started, all Nigerian state institutions have been exposed for what they are. The executive arm, the legislative arm, and now the judiciary. Also the police, INEC, and other state institutions. What does it cost a human to do the right thing? Maybe the meaning of the right thing is relative. It means different things to different people. If the judgment on the 25% requirement in Abuja is eventually delivered in favor of the Nigerian people, then one will wonder why the judges couldn't deliver the judgment before the swearing in. The same thing played out when Andy Uba was declared winner in Anambra State in an election that shouldn't have taken place. Not that Peter Obi didn't go to court early to seek the interpretation of when his tenure ends, but the judges kept delaying the matter till an election that shouldn't have held was held, and a swearing-in that shouldn't have taken place took place, only for them to turn around and nullify everything 17 days after Andy Uba was sworn into office. They now added a line in the judgment that Andy Uba was never the governor because Peter Obi's tenure was still active when the election held, and that INEC shouldn't have conducted the election. INEC also should have waited for the outcome of the judgment before conducting the election. But as usual, they showed their partisanship. They were in a hurry more than political parties to conduct the election. That notwithstanding, the question remains, why did the judges wait for all the errors and wastages of Nigerian people's money to happen before correcting them, before delivering judgment? It was justice delivered with a lot of question marks. And here we are 15 years after, the same games are still being played. Nigerians pay people in government to serve them, and the service delivery should be prompt when it is required, not after the fact. When a hungry man goes to a restaurant to eat, he should be served immediately, not 10 hours later. The same thing happened in Rotimi Amechi versus Celestine Omehia. The case was a pre-election matter about who won the election and the authentic nominee. Why didn't the court reach a decision before the elections proper and subsequent swearing in of Celestine Omehia as Rivers State Governor? The judiciary shouldn't help politicians who rig elections to ever enter the government house, not for a few days or months, not even for an hour. This is exactly what motivates politicians. This is what makes them rig elections, because they know that they will stay in office for some time to recover the money they spent. To them, it is business. How much did you spend? How much did you recover? The only time the judiciary woke up to their responsibilities is the timely nullification of the election of David Leon in Bayelsa State, which took place a day before his swearing in. So it means that they can deliver justice on time. The question remains, why don't they do it always? Why isn't it the standard that every judge and court should follow? In fact, this kind of delay can be likened to rigging in judicial form. How can the judiciary arm of government stand by and watch the executive arm openly breach our constitution without lending their voice to correct them? They should use their good office to stop them, because this will set a very bad precedent in Nigeria. Seriously, the only hope that Nigerians have to stop the breach of the Constitution before May 29th is the upcoming judgment of the Supreme Court on Friday, 26th May 2023. The Supreme Court will deliver judgment on the double nomination of Shettima, the vice presidential candidate of the APC. There are judicial precedents that should guide the judges, but one can never tell what will happen. Yes, although one can never tell how the judgment will go, it is hoped that the Supreme Court will do the needful, because in 2019, the same Supreme Court disqualified Uche Nwosu of Imo State because of his double nomination. While delivering the judgment, Justice Ogi said that the appellant cannot be allowed to benefit from his own iniquity. The action is not caught up by limitation of time. This case rests on the issue of illegality, and this court cannot be used to enforce illegalities. This is clear as day. APC even accepted the double nomination of Shettima at the lower court. Let's see how the Supreme Court will deliver the judgment, and as usual, we will keep you updated on that day when the Supreme Court will deliver judgment. The tsunami himself indeed, Oni of Ife, hailing Peter Obi in the company of Donald Duke. They met at the commissioning of Dangote Refinery in Lagos. Now, before we see the summary of today's hearing at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal seated at the Appeal Court Complex, Abuja, let's see what happened before the court resumed. The issue of entering into the courtroom with phones and other gadgets became a serious issue once again. Lawyers and everyone present in court were shocked to see another sticker stopping people from getting into the courtroom with phones. It wasn't the case yesterday, and many people thought that the rule has been relaxed and they wouldn't contemplate it again. But no, all along they've been testing the microphone to see how people will react. And the same yesterday, the judges ruled against the live broadcast of proceedings in the court. And the major reason for the ruling was that live broadcast of proceedings isn't backed by any Nigerian law. When people saw this sticker this morning, they wondered if banning of phones in the courtroom is backed by any Nigerian law. Of course, no one could answer. They insisted that people must put their phones in a zip bag before entering the courtroom. It took the resistance of the people for them to budge. The people started chanting, "No phones, no court." At the end of the day, the people won. The court officials had no alternative than to allow people enter the courtroom with their phones.
Phones and other gadgets will not be allowed effective from Monday. So we have made.
Now enter the courtroom. The phone ban in the courtroom was the first issue the presiding judge, Honorable Justice Samani, addressed. He said that going forward that phones will not be allowed into the courtroom. This is the final word. This means that we can't even get updates from the inside the courtroom except the court goes on recess or rounds up for the day. This will mean that people can only write down what is going on in the court on a piece of paper. Or will they ban paper and pen next? Anyway, let's see the summary of today's pre-hearing at the tribunal. Today marks the end of the pre-hearing and there will be a total of 83 witnesses that will testify in court. There's no breakdown to know how many witnesses that each party will bring to court, but since all petitions have now been consolidated as announced by the presiding judge, that will mean that the 83 witnesses are for everyone. 30 minutes is reserved for cross-examination of all star witnesses. A total of 3 weeks is reserved for all parties to call their witnesses. Remember that the Labour Party legal team earlier requested 7 weeks for their witnesses, which should reduce after they finish the physical inspection of the beavers. You are already aware that hearing will start on Tuesday, 30th May 2023. From that day till 23rd of June, the court will hear evidence from the petitioners. After that, it will be the turn of the first respondent, INEC and others. The judge also announced that they want to stick to the timeline in order to end the trial on the 5th August 2023. The court will sit every day until the end of trial, except Sundays. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.
Comrade Show, way, Comrade Lante Oriente. This is the Comrade Show.